All right, my friends, welcome back to All Cars. It is time for another Motor Week retro review reaction. This week it is the 1994 Saab 900. Now, if you've been here before, you know I'm a pretty big fan of Saabs. I think I'm going to have a lot to say about this one, and it looks super cool. This one hasn't been up for very long, so I thought it was absolutely time for us to do it, since not too long ago I did a history of Saab here on this channel. Be fun to see how this is. So please, my friend, grab your beverage of choice and let's sit back and take a trip down memory lane to when Saab existed.
MotorWeek is made possible by Lucas Oil, Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper, and TireRack.com.
You know, our staff has always been fond of automobiles built by Saab. For years, they combined the performance and luxury that we expect in a fine European car with their own unique, sometimes quirky personality. When General Motors became part owner of Saab's automobile division, some feared that these cars might lose that special character. Well, fear not. We've just driven the all-new Saab 900, and we're happy to report that a Saab is still a Saab.
Well, and I'm glad they brought that up right up front. That's one of the reasons this one caught my eye is at the end, not really the end, but towards the end of Saab's life in the 80s, and GM bought into them. And history will show that GM proceeded to wreck them in the attempt to move their sales up and compete more directly with BMW, for example. And one of the big mistakes they made later was doing away with this body style. Now, certainly from the 70s, the Saab 90, then the 900, and then into the 93 later, this body style really became iconic, literally in its own life, right? And I love it. I absolutely love it. I love how it looked narrow and that long hood and that kind of weird profile and a hatchback. And what's good about this car is GM got involved, but Saab was still allowed to do it. And it might be a little bit of heresy, but in spite of the fact that I hate GM was involved in what was going to happen, I love this body style. It's just much smoother, much more smoothed out than the previous ones. I don't dislike the previous ones. I don't dislike the older body styles, but this one really speaks to me. Let's keep going.
But then, what else could it be with a shape like this? While the 94 Saab 900 may share more than a few parts with its new European GM siblings, its styling remains unmistakably Swedish, and more precisely, unmistakably Saab. The new ultra-smooth sheet metal sits atop a heavily revised opal platform with 3.3 inches more wheelbase, but front and rear overhang have been reduced, so the new 900 is almost 2 inches shorter than the old car.
And you know what? I've never in my life had a chance to drive an original classic 900 and then turn around and drive one of these based on that opal platform. I've never in my life had a chance to drive one back to back. So I don't know, and I can't speak to GM's involvement in how it changed the feel of the car, the ride and the handling and the torsional rigidity. But from a design standpoint, I think this car looks fantastic. I really do. That longer wheelbase serves it well instead of looking, you know, like it was built on a short wheelbase car from the 60s and 70s, which it was, and then shortening up the overhangs. I think this is an incredibly well-proportioned car that is distinctive from any angle. Really nothing else looked like it. Even its country mate of Volvo didn't do something that looked like this. So really love it. They kept that hockey stick window line right there. They've still this car works for me. Gosh, I would love to have one of these. This car works for me a lot. So let's keep going.
Initially, the 900 will only be available as a 5-door hatchback in S-grade trim, but an SE-grade car as well as a 3-door hatchback and 2-door convertible are on the way. Here now is our 900S test car's optional 2.5-liter V6 engine, a first for Saab. Built in England by GM's Vauxhall, it fits into the 900 engine lineup between the base 2.3-liter 4-cylinder and a 2-liter turbo that will arrive eventually. The V6 pumps out a respectable 170 horsepower and 167 pound-feet of torque, and it's connected to a standard traction control system. This translates into a fine 0 to 60 sprint of 7.4 seconds. 900 used 15.8 seconds at 91 miles per hour to finish the quarter mile.
Solid numbers. Solid numbers. It's funny listening to that. If you get really close, when they were talking about that engine, it just sounds like a GM engine. I don't know. Anyway, the engine doesn't excite me, but nice solid numbers all the way around on everything so far.
Six-cylinder power came on strong from down low with a touch of front drive wheel shutter, but without the annoying torque steer so familiar in Saab's turbo cars. Power continues to flow evenly through the gears, which are controlled by a typically rubbery feeling but very precise Saab 5-speed manual shifter. A 4-speed automatic is optional. With McPherson struts up front and Saab's well-honed twist beam suspension in the rear, the handling was also very precise. Moderate front plow tilted the 900 towards the luxury side of the sports sedan field. Our staff would also prefer less of the body tilting in corners, but all praise the solid chassis and quick, accurate power steering.
Interesting feedback there. Quick, accurate steering, very solid feeling body, but the roll made it feel more like the luxury end of the sports luxury market. Interesting way to say it really didn't handle that sportily is what I hear, but that it sounds like a very solid car, that competent, maybe that's a good word, certainly on the competent side.
Cheers also for the standard anti-lock equipped disc brakes. Consistent 112-foot stops from 60 impressed our drivers, as did the excellent stability and pedal feel.
Fantastic results, honestly. I've said many times, it's become a thing here for these retro reviews that 115 is that magic number. But not only does this beat 115, which may have something to do with the atmospheric conditions at the time, we don't know, but it does it without any drama. There's nosedive, right? But there's no lockups, there's no swerving, one tire doesn't start smoking, just performs well. And so far, I would say that kind of defines everything about it, that it accelerates strongly, it gets quick enough, it goes through the slalom pretty darn well, if not, BMW 3 Series Sporty, and it stops great with a body that feels rigid. This is the definition of a competent car. Honestly impressive, understated, but impressive, and heck, that might be a good description for Saab. And I'd like to say one more thing about that V6. While I don't love it that it's a GM power plant in the car, that probably fits the nature of this being on the more luxury touring end of the sports sedan than that turbo with its on-off switch of a turbo. I'm thinking that V6 probably just has a little bit more of the right character for this car.
Out on public roads, the 900 impressed again with a smooth luxury car ride and commendable fuel mileage. EPA estimates are 18 city and 25 highway, and we managed 25 miles per gallon. And while performance may be sharper, the latest 900 has retained the user-friendly feel that has kept Saab owners coming back year after year. Saab interiors have always combined comfort with unique features, and the new 900 continues the Trollhättan tradition. Saab's heritage as an aircraft builder is retained in the all-new dash, with efficient and ergonomically correct control placement. Traditional Saab crash protection features are bolstered by standard driver and front passenger airbags. While the firm bucket seats provide plentiful support, comfort amenities like a telescoping steering wheel and adjustable seatbelt anchors are also standard, as is the very Saab floor center console mounted ignition lock. And a new black panel feature that allows you to shut off all dash lights except the speedometer to minimize night driving distractions. Less unusual but very welcomed are the large switches for the filter-equipped CFC-free heat and air conditioning system, as well as the standard cassette stereo. The rear seat offers substantial headroom and 3-point seat belts for all 3 passengers, as well as a 60-40 split seat back.
So let me dive in here to the interior real quick. Bluntly, I love it. I like the design of the dashboard. I like, the material quality here, firm seats. For 94, you keep hearing things that I keep finding myself thinking about. I don't think that's standard on other cars. I don't know how many other cars would have had that and that and that and that. This feels like an extremely well-equipped car with Saab's traditional focus on safety. I don't know off the top of my head how many cars in 1994 had a driver's side airbag, a passenger side airbag, a tilt and telescoping steering wheel, cabin filter, CFC-free air conditioning. Just a really impressive collection of equipment on this car. Feels out of date to us with our infotainment, but really pretty impressive. It's just all kind of subdued. It's just there. No need to throw your hands up and shout about it. It's just there. Now, I will say, as much as I love this interior, and look at how deeply scalloped out the doors are there to give you room and that door handle. And it's just dark. I mean, I've said it many times. I live in the South. It's hotter than heck normally. A black interior, a black dash with black carpet, just too much. It looks quite rich to me, except for one thing, but it just feels a little dark and drab. And that one thing is the boot around the gear shifter, that rubberized boot, instead of having something that looks more leather and more luxurious. I don't know, that boot around the gear shifter just kind of strikes a wrong note for me. But overall, the interior is very impressive. I really like it. Gosh, I would like to see some beige in here to brighten it up a little bit.
But another highlight is Saab's new optional integrated child seats that keep two little ones safe and secure. Big loads, however, go in the huge trunk. 24 cubic feet of cargo loads easily thanks to the wide bumper height lip. Fortunately, you won't need a trunk full of money to pay for the 900. Saab is holding the line on prices, with the 5-door 900S starting at $20,990. Our heavily optioned V6 test car carried a price of $26,280. And that price buys a lot of car, especially in the safety department. The 900 has standard dual airbags, seatbelt tensioners, anti-lock brakes, traction control, 5-mile-per-hour bumpers, and meets all 1997 federal side impact standards. But safety is only a small part of what keeps Saab 900 lovers devoted to these distinctive cars, even as they have evolved light years from the 1968 Model 99. So the 900's faithful legions need not fear, because GM parts notwithstanding, the 1994 900 is still pure Saab.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'll lean into you if you're more of a Saab expert than I am, whether the change to GM engines and platform ruined the car and ruined the literally bulletproof reliability that old engine had. There's the part of me that is, wow, if I wanted a Saab, I really want one of the old ones. But there's a large part of me, because in the 90s was my 20s, this is the Saab for me, right? It kept the magic inside and outside of the old one, but updated everything. And so I really like this. And then it was with the 9.3, and ultimately when it moved to a trunk, that it all fell apart for me. And well, Saab's history kind of proved that. But here's the deal. Part of these retro reviews are put yourself back then. Now in 94, I was not in a position to buy really anything. But if I was a little bit older and I was employed, doing well, and $27,000 car was, let's say sub $30,000 car was kind of in my wheelhouse. At that age, I would not probably put Saab near the top of my list. Sure, the Saab 900 Turbo was one of my first car lusts. But with BMW and Mercedes and where Audi was going with their stuff, I'd be hard pressed to go pick this doesn't have the sportiness, and that shape that I love, that's narrow and long and hatchback, doesn't scream premium, sporty luxury like what, let's just keep saying it, BMW was doing at the time. I think that a 3 Series would speak to me more then. But as I've gotten older, and it's not a rational thought. It's not a check boxes, a checklist of here's the pros and the cons, right? It is that I've gotten older, this quirkiness really appeals to me. And to the point that right now, if I wanted to go buy a 94-ish car to just enjoy and make videos about, I'd get this before I'd get a BMW or a Mercedes any day of the week. Absolutely. This isn't quite a dream car for me. This Saab 900, previous generation, this generation, they're not quite dream cars, but they're a magic kind of portion of when I became interested in cars, that I always was interested in their quirkiness, and I want something that speaks to me. I've started saying that a lot more in my videos because something like a Toyota Camry checks all the boxes. You can make a spreadsheet about how it's the right answer and low insurance rates and great gas mileage and great reliability, and it doesn't matter because when I drive a Camry, I can appreciate it for what it is, but it doesn't particularly interest me. When I bought my Mazda back in the day, Mazda Protege, it spoke to me like a Volkswagen, like a Honda Civic, like a Corolla never did. It was still a great car, but it spoke to me, and that's where the Saab sits for me. I can probably come up with a bunch of reasons, a dozen reasons why it's not the best choice if you want that premium near luxury car. A Volvo might be a better buy, but this car, its shape, its interior, its quirkiness, that you look at it and you know you bought something different than everybody else. This car speaks to me, and it speaks to me very, very loudly. And I will end with this. Friends of the family, let's put it that way, 2 of them, they're both Saab fans, and they both keep buying and selling Saabs. And part of the joke is that they have to have 2 Saabs at all time to keep one of them running. And there's some truth to this because they're buying old Saabs. They're buying like 92s and things like that. And I've been in communication with both of them that give me a Saab to review. And neither one of them will say yes yet because they're not proud of the condition or the mechanical functioning of their vehicles, and then somehow they end up with a different one. So I want to let you know I'm really trying to get one of these. I don't do a ton of reviews here, but I'm really trying to get one of these because I just want that trip down memory lane and I want to share it with you. So if it happens, you'll see it on the channel. Otherwise, let me know your thoughts below, guys, if you have some positive memories about Saab, and especially if you have some great knowledge about how this move to that GM platform, and maybe in this case a GM engine, ruined it or improved it. Let me know below, but I do appreciate you being here.